Congressman, welcome back to the program here. House Republicans juggling a lot here. The DHS funding, the FISA extension, along with the Farm Bill passing out of the House, but doesn't have the best future, it looks like, in the Senate here. No clear resolution. What do you tell Texans who are looking for results, especially as we close in on this pivotal election?
Well, the Democrats are still holding DHS funding hostage. Look, yesterday we dealt with several, as you said, very vital, very critical issues, and the Senate has dismissed all of them and said they're going to do their own thing. We need to go to conference rather than them just coming up with something on their own. But we need to tell Texans that the Senate needs to get on the stick. They need to get things done. John Cornyn is in leadership in the Senate. Now let's get something done in the Senate. Let's at least negotiate with the House with what we have done on three critical, vital issues.
What's the issue with the Senate? Why aren't the two chambers? Why aren't Republicans in the two chambers able to move these bills?
Well, in the Senate, they certainly have the 60 vote cloture rule, even to get to a vote. But this is what the president's been saying for months now. This is what the Republicans in the House have been saying for months now. Nuke the filibuster and let's get on with it. We know the Democrats, they've already told us they're going to nuke the filibuster if they take the Senate. So let's just beat them to the punch, nuke the filibuster, and get things done with Republican votes. That's the way it's supposed to work anyway. Remember, the cloture vote is not in law anywhere. It's simply a Senate rule.
Sure. Well, why aren't Republicans doing that?
Well, some of the Republicans are, but John Thune will not do it unless he gets extreme pressure. I have no idea why John Thune is not supporting the president, is not supporting these very conservative, very Republican bills that we're sending over to them. No one can explain that. He's just not.
When it comes to DHS funding, the Farm Bill, and the FISA extension, there has been some division among Republicans passing this. What do you think it was that finally got these over the top?
Timeline, certainly for the DHS, the budget resolution we needed to get done so we can move forward. Now, sure. Senate needs to do their work, as we just said. FISA, we're looking at what the Senate is doing this morning, Thursday morning, on FISA, and it depends on what they do as to what we do when it comes over. But I think we are very close to getting a central bank digital currency ban, total ban, if we simply hold firm. But that's the state we're in.
And explain to our viewers why this is so important to have this ban on digital currencies from a central bank in the U.S.
Well, first of all, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act and the central bank digital currency are both surveillance tools to be used against Americans. We know that the foreign intelligence is being used against Americans. We want a very strict warrant that somebody, once they police up your phone number, your email, get a warrant before you go further. On the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, that is total government transparency into your finances. They don't want you to buy a Ford 350 pickup. You won't be able to do it. That's the sort of transparency, the control that we do not want the federal government to have over our individual finances.
But the president wants this extension to pass here, and you were one of, 22 that opposed it?
Well, this is the argument here because the president is solely focused on national security. He's absolutely correct. This is a great tool. We want the CIA and the NSA to run as far and as fast as they can to find the bad guys so our military can deal with them. Our problem is with the FBI, which also has a part of FISA. So it's a part of FISA that we are objecting to. And we believe the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution is not a suggestion. It is a law. In fact, it's the Constitution of the United States that demands what we are asking.
But the FISA extension did get a 3-year extension. Is that right, from the House?
It did.
Why do you think that you and the other Republicans who are pushing for this weren't able to get why do you think you and the other Republicans pushing this were not able to get your points included in the final bill?
Well, the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, everyone is saying the Senate won't pass it, therefore we won't do it. We won't do our job to include something that's important because of what the Senate, the recalcitrant Senate, won't do. That's not the way we need to do business. We need to do our job. We need to do the House's job to do the best job we can. We're the people's house. They're not the people's house. We are the people's house. We represent most closely the people that we represent. The senators do not.
Right. The House just passed the Farm Bill. Who knows what's going to happen to it in the Senate? But we've heard from farmers for a few weeks now saying, listen, the war in Iran is really pinching us when it comes to rising fuel cost and to fertilizer. Do you expect another bailout to be coming for farmers?
I think that the drought in the Midwest, we've got to understand, is getting worse. I don't think it's approaching the drought of record in the 1950s, but it is getting worse. And the farmers are hurting because of the input costs. But they're also hurting because of government regulations, the DEF on farm equipment. In fact, we just passed an amendment that I hope the Senate will pass that says EPA cannot regulate farm equipment. Much like military equipment, farm equipment cannot be held to the same standard as a passenger sedan, for instance. So yes, I think that the Farm Bill will pass. I'm hoping, although the Senate has said they're going to do their own Farm Bill. So there are some bad things in the Farm Bill that we passed today, but we've got to get a Farm Bill across. Because remember, we're also looking at if the Democrats, God forbid, take the House or the Senate in January, then they're going to tear down everything we did for the farmers in the One Big Beautiful Bill. That's also the key, because the Farm Bill is a 5-year bill that would then be in place through the next 5 years.
Let me ask, separate from the Farm Bill, though, as far as another bailout for farmers because of the war in Iran on high fuel costs and fertilizer costs, do they deserve a bailout, you think?
That would be the executive branch. They have not brought us that. So I know that this discussion is going on, but I don't want to get ahead of the negotiations. Our farmers are hurting, and whether or not this Farm Bill will move fast enough and far enough is the question right now. We need to get the Farm Bill in place to start giving relief to our farmers.
And one of the sticking points in the Farm Bill in the House was over lawmakers and whether they wanted to give immunity to companies that make pesticides and shield them from future lawsuits from farmers and consumers. The MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again movement, was against that. What happened with that in the Farm Bill?
That was an amendment that we voted on today. I think it actually passed. That was the Luna amendment. And yes, I'm pretty sure that passed. We had like 9 of them to vote on.
Right, there are a bunch of amendments to it. So did the make sure I'm clear about what happened. If you remember it with all the 9 amendments, did the immunity provision survive or was it killed?
The Luna amendment would strip them of their immunity. That passed. We're checking it right now.
Okay, no problem at all. And I just wanted to make sure I understood that as well here. A few last quick questions for you. We saw Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth fighting with Congress this week in the committee hearings, the House Armed Services Committee, while asking for $25 billion for the war in Iran. There's no end in sight that we can see, the public can see. Peace talks have stalled so far here. Are you going to support writing an open check for this?
That's an open question, because actually well beyond that, the request is for $1.5 trillion now. Some of that is going to have to go through a Reconciliation 3, but we might have a supplemental on top of that. So this is a very complex funding matrix that we're dealing with here. The conservatives like myself want to support our troops, want to support the war effort, but how are we going to pay for this? We're already $39 trillion in debt. We want to see some sort of payment schedule. How are we going to pay for this is the question that we are asking. So I don't have an answer for you yet. We're asking those questions. We're asking them to come to us with how are we going to pay for this? What does it actually look like? What are we going to spend it on? So it is not a done deal at this point.
But where does it, if the war has cost $25 billion so far and there's no end in sight to this, how would we know how much more this is going to cost.
You don't. That's the way war is. Once you release the dogs of war, both sides have a will, our will and Iran's will. So this is the unknown in every war, that you've got to decide how far you're going to take it and what you're going to do, because the other side has a vote in this. So no, you do not know.
And to make sure I'm clear then, are you open to continually funding this war effort without having an exit strategy from the administration?
That's one of our questions. What is the exit strategy? Because, and I think the administration is getting to the point where they know what they want. The nuclear material is becoming the most important thing. They're trying to do it through the economic strangling of Iran right now, and it's getting much worse in Iran, as we know. But the nuclear material is, I think, is the last element that the administration thinks they have to get, and they're going to try to force that through economic means.
But there's no telling. I mean, we've been trying to force Cuba through economic means for 70 years. There's no telling how long that could take with Iran having 11 tons of enriched uranium, is there?
We're talking about 900 pounds, I think, of the 60% uranium that we've got to get. But yeah, you don't know. Again, they have a voice. And one of the things that we're also trying to encourage through our actions is the people actually determining the regime change. Now, I know the guys with the guns, the IRGC, is really in charge today. I'm not sure the Ayatollahs are. I think it's the IRGC, which makes it more difficult. So this is a very difficult nut to crack.
One last question I wanted to ask you here. I saw a headline the other day that kind of struck me. I thought I'd ask you, with your vast military experience here. The Pentagon now formally asking Congress to change the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. I think it's going to cost $52 million to make that change. Do you support that?
It's not a major issue with me. $52 million, I would, again, I'm vetoing bills, or not vetoing, I'm voting against bills that are 10 million over a few number of years. So yeah, the price tag is an issue with me. The name is not an issue with me. The price tag is. So we'll see what they suggest. We'll see if they formally put that into the NDAA, and we'll take a look at it. But the name is inconsequential to me. We all know what it is. It's the most powerful military in the world today. So the name, no. The cost, yes.
Congressman, great to see you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.